want to introduce Dr. Mark Rudin. He's our speaker today, and ordinarily I memorize a great deal or highlights of what's been provided to me, but I couldn't do it in this instance. So you'll just have to pardon me while I read this, because of his academic accomplishments and past work experience are so spectacular that I wanted to do it justice. How about that?
Should I just quit?
He's been president of Texas A&M College of Commerce now for 11 months. And he has a Bachelor of General Health Science, a Master of Science in Health Physics, a Doctor of Philosophy. And I am so right-handed, I can't do this left-handed. Pardon me, I have to switch. I can hold a microphone left-handed, but I can't work anything with it. And with a Doctor of Philosophy in Medicinal Chemistry with a concentration in Health Physics. Sounds like you were preparing to go to medical school with that kind of academic background. He has some goals that I'm sure he's going to share with us today about student success, expanded research, and economic development, and those are his top priorities as president. And he has a great vision to adapt traditional models to meet the needs of the students of today. And prior to assuming the presidency here in Commerce, he was Vice President for Research and Economic Development at Boise State University. I have been in the Panhandle of Idaho, but I haven't been in Boise. I'm sure it's a beautiful country like it is in the Panhandle. He was 11 years there and played a big role in expanding the research activity to develop in collaborative partnerships with both public and private entities. I'm going to stop right there, sir, and give you the microphone. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but there's more. This gentleman is eminently qualified for the position that he now holds. Thank you. Bill pointed out to me this gentleman is a Rotarian. He's a member of the Commerce Rotary Club.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, do you think I need this? Do I? Yeah. Do I need it? Okay. Thank you for that. Well, thank you, David. Thanks so much for having me here. I appreciate it. You know, and the note I got from David and the group is that these are the exact words. You can talk as long as you want. So you may not all be here, but I have the floor until, I know you have to get out of here by 1 o'clock, and I'll keep my remarks brief, because I do want to be able to answer any kind of questions you have and open it up. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on at the university. A lot of good things going on. We have a new year coming up, a new school year coming up. Going to be a lot of new faces on campus, a lot of new, well, at least one new building that's going to be brought online on campus. I know there's probably questions about this new nursing building. Here's the official word. We have been given the approval to start moving in after July 29th. Okay? Now, we're not going to be able to get everything in there. You notice how I said that. We're going to begin the process. Because I'm not as worried about the health and the human performance people moving in. I am a little bit worried about pushing and working too fast to get the nursing academic programs in there, because there's a lot of the simulation lab and all these kind of things. We want to make sure we do that right. So even if you talk to the nursing faculty, they'll say, hey, if we can't do it right in the fall, then let's not do it in the fall. Let's wait until the spring until we can do it right. So that's the game plan right now. So I've been on the job, as David mentioned, for 11 months now. Came from Boise State. Here's a little bit of trivia. When I was interviewing for the job, if you ever been to a football game over at the stadium, saw the big orange line right on the football field. When I was interviewing, one of the people on the committee said, you know that we wanted the blue turf at A&M Commerce, and Boise State didn't let us do that. And you know what? That's the honest to God truth. Because get this, Boise State owns the license on any non-green field. Wow. Can you imagine that? You want an orange field, you want a purple field, you got to go through Boise State to make that happen. Now that I'm not at Boise State, when I was at Boise State, I was like, that's nothing wrong with that. Now that I'm not, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, right? So, but they said they had the biggest lion head there. So again, been on the job brand new. Two things. People always ask me, hey, tell us a little bit about your feelings about being here. How's it going so far? How's it going with the family and so on? I'll say two things. One is that of all the places I've been, so I was born and raised, grew up around Chicago, spent some time in D.C., spent some time in Vegas, about 12 years, went up to Boise. The people of Northeast Texas, and my family would agree with this, and we sit around the table and have this type of discussion, are the most kind and generous and gracious people we've been around. So I can't tell you how important that is to my family, and the way to get to my heart is treat my family nice, and everyone's been nothing but gracious. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of that. And number two, of all the universities, 3 or 4 universities I've been a part of, we have the best student body at this university that any university I've been at. Again, the most kind and gracious people that I've been around that are there to lend a helping hand, that volunteer, understand their commitment to community and to each other. And I can tell you, if, just from what I know, this job would be much more of a pain if the student body wasn't the way they are. So that's incredibly important and really an attribute of ours and an asset of ours at the university. So being the new guy, I get to work with the campus on putting together a new strategic plan for the university, and that's been done. And we are now in the process of making it look all nice and shiny and putting the booklet form and so forth. But I just wanted to walk you through a little bit about what the plan says and who we see ourselves as part of that plan. So regardless of what happens, this is what we decided, and what I sort of pushed the campus to do, is forget about objectives, forget about goals and those type of things. Let's just come up with things that we think we are. Okay? This is who we are. Regardless if we change goals or objectives, this is who we see ourselves as. And there's 4 of these pillars that we're calling. The first one is transformative. Okay? One of the things that has been probably the greatest surprise to me, and we're amongst friends here, so we can have this discussion, is the student body, the prospective student body that we serve. A lot of those students are economically challenged. They don't have the resources to necessarily go to school. And in all likelihood, some of these first generation students aren't even talking about going to school with the family or sitting around the dinner table. Our first pillar is called transformative. We see ourselves, and we get up every day at the university for the opportunity to take that kid that maybe not even is thinking about school, can't afford school, and how do we get them to the university, serve as a catalyst, and make them successful. And break that cycle of generational poverty that may exist through their lineage and make them successful. Okay? That's what gets us up in the morning. Okay? That's also something that kind of bites us in the shorts a little bit as a university. Because, again, as I'm speaking to friends, I'm a little bit nervous. We're going to edit this tape, right? Or redact this tape here? I'm sort of counting on you guys to help me out here. But doing that, assuming that responsibility comes with responsibility too. We have to be able, we can't just say, okay, go out there, good luck. Okay? To these students, we got to be able to have the wraparound services to support them in order for them to be successful. We offer these kids scholarships, we offer them money to go to school. We can't offer them money, then all of a sudden say, okay, they got money now, they're an entrepreneur and they know how to handle their finances. That's not always the case. So we have to provide those additional services to help make them successful. So transformative is number 1. Number 2 is innovative. Okay? Between us, I don't think A&M Commerce has been all that innovative of a school. Okay? At Boise State, we saw ourselves as, the hit, cool. That's where everyone wants to be. We are on the edge, on riding the wave. Okay? That's where we need to get to as an institution. The competition out there in higher ed landscape is sharp and keen. It is difficult. Everyone is trying to get a piece of the pie. Okay? What are we going to do as an institution to differentiate ourselves? What are we going to do for the next term, for the next pillar, to be innovative and think about doing things differently as a university? We need to create experiences for our kids that are different than what they may get at another institution. We have to have procedures and processes that constantly test the higher ed system, constantly test how we do business. University, as you probably would guess, is a big, cumbersome enterprise. It moves very slowly. I can't stand slowly. Okay? When we see a problem, we need to work quickly to eradicate it and feel nimble enough to do that. Okay? So innovative. Third, diversity. Okay? We are a diverse campus on a number of different fronts. And oftentimes when I say diversity, people immediately jump to race. It's about race. Okay? It's not. We are considering diversity and inclusion with a capital D, capital I. Ethnicity, gender, race, veterans, disabilities, first gen, and so forth. We have to do everything we possibly can to make sure that every student, every prospective student is able in a very safe, healthy, inclusive environment to be set up for success. Okay? We have to be able to accommodate every walk of life to come to our campus. Okay? And there's beauty in that. As an ex-research guy, I know that if I'm trying to solve a problem as a researcher, if it's a world according to Mark, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna be a very innovative solution, okay? But if I had to bring diverse thought to the table, I didn't say race, I didn't say ethnicity, I didn't say gender, I didn't say diverse thought to the table, that is incredibly important, helps move research and therefore other parts of the university forward, okay? Again, diversity means very little to me if you don't have inclusion, and the focus is going to be on inclusion. And then the fourth item, sustainability, financial sustainability. We're not a rich university, as you probably may or may not have, maybe you haven't heard. Because we're part of the A&M system doesn't mean John Sharp is down in College Station cutting us $1 million checks every day. Okay? That doesn't happen. Okay? We need to be responsible for our own revenue at the university. Okay? We typically do that through philanthropy, research, and enrollment. Okay? We own that. We have to make sure all this other fun, cool stuff that we're doing, innovation and so forth, we got to be able to make sure that we're doing it in a very judicious and cost-effective way. Okay? So those are our pillars. And what our mission statement is this. And I went back and forth with the campus on this. I wasn't happy with this when I first heard it. But they wanted to keep, you usually see a mission statement is, we are going to do this and solve all the world's problems and so forth. The campus decided a 3-word mission statement. Educate, discover, achieve. That's what we do. And immediately people say, okay, what does that mean? What does discover mean? What does achieve mean? What does discover, educate mean? It does have different meanings depending who is the audience for that, but that's okay. Because that's, again, what we do. We find ourselves there. That's what we do as an institution. Prepare young minds, and sometimes older minds, to go be successful and make contributions. Okay? I'm warming up to that. Not there, but I'm warming up to it. Okay? So we have a mission statement. We have these pillars and so forth. Now we set out a number of goals with objectives under those goals. But I want to talk to you a little bit about those number of goals. And this first goal is my baby. Okay? When I was at Boise State, when I was in Vegas, this is what I did. Okay? Higher ed sometimes feels like they know everything. Believe it or not, sometimes faculty act as prima donnas. I know that's hard to believe. No, I know. Rumor has it. Okay? But they don't know everything. I don't know everything. Okay? And yet we're tasked with graduating students that need to be properly prepared to take their place in the workforce. Okay? My job, and I think it's going to be our job from this point forward at A&M Commerce, is let's have an ongoing discussion with industry so they can tell us what skills they need in our graduates, what programs they need from the university. Commerce has had a number of starts and stops of programs and all course offerings downtown Dallas. That's okay, but they kind of said, well, if we build it, they will come. Well, you know what? They didn't come. Okay? They had no diet. We were offering a business class or a psych class and saying, please, someone take these classes. The better approach would be, let's go talk to industry and see if they need those courses. Let's go talk to industry and see if they need those programs, right? That discussion was not going on. So I think this whole aspect of workforce development, economic development, is so critically important to the next iteration of a university. I've taken it so seriously that my job at Boise State was VP for Research and Economic Development. I hired a new VP for Economic Development that is going to be doing exactly what I'm telling you. Okay? So the number one goal in my mind, even though on the record we say, hey, not, one goal is not more important than the other one, my number one goal is student preparedness. Okay? Are we preparing them to be successful and get that first job or that job? Okay? Are we having that discussion with industry to tell them what we need to have and prepare in our students? This is the faculty in the university is like, what are we doing, Mark? Tell me again what we're doing. Some people get it, okay? Some don't. But we are testing that at A&M Commerce. We're going to work on that A&M Commerce. There's a lot of schools, I would say overwhelming majority of schools wouldn't even know what the hell I'm talking about right now. Okay? That's how critically important I think it is. Okay? So now, let me give you an example of that. Okay? We're starting to hear from industry that they want our engineers to have some kind of business side, okay? Have a business understanding, generally, okay? And the old model would be, go get your engineering degree, go get your MBA, okay? I think here's what we need to think about as an institution. Think about an electrical engineer that needs to take their core courses, core curriculum, needs to take their electrical engineering courses and then has electives, okay? Can't do anything about the core. State of Texas mandated, got to take those courses. The engineering courses, electrical engineering courses, we need to prepare that the most technically sound electrical engineer we possibly can. Okay? And then let's talk a little bit about these elective courses. Sometimes these elective courses are just courses that faculty teach because they like teaching them, or they think it's what's best for them. Okay? But potential employers of those students, if they're telling us they want business sense for these students, as an institution, let's think about plucking out a 3-course sequence of engineering electives and replacing them with a business readiness sequence in there. Okay? And now you can start thinking about other kind of funky sounding kind of things. Again, driven by industry. Before I left Boise State, we were talking about developing history majors that knew how to computer code. Art majors that know how to read financial reports. Different skill sets that set them up. My son currently he just graduated from Boise State in computer science. He is a wizard. He is so smart. He is going to take on the world. And I think Boise State failed him miserably. He got a great CS education, but you know what? CS was not his passion. His passion was music. Okay? What should have happened, or at least a discussion should have happened, is let's have a discussion between computer science and music. We are in the digital age right now, so I don't care if it's music, art, whatever that is. It's a digital world now. What about a marriage between music and art and computer science? I think my son would have thrived in a discipline, in an area like that. My son, perfect job for my son would have been like at Pixar, to be the person behind the scenes doing the post-production work. Okay? Boise State didn't even want to have that discussion. I want to have, I'm not telling you right now we're going to do music and computer science, but we need to have that discussion to see what the market bears. Student preparedness, and I tell you what, honestly, I tried to sneak in the word employability. Student preparedness, employability, I kind of got nixed by the system. Because they said, oh, hey, that implies some kind of guarantee that they'll be employable. I'm thinking, we should be busting our hiney to try to get them employed, right? Why shy away from that? But the lawyers won on that one. So I in these kind of forums, I always talk about employability because I think that's incredibly important. Okay? So that's goal number 1. Number 2, elevate research. Okay? Of course, you listen to the research guy, right? but I can't tell you how incredibly important that is. I don't want, Commerce, for the school of its size, doesn't do very much funded research at all. We're probably about $3 million in research money we bring in. That's unacceptable, okay? We are a university starving for resources with tremendous expertise and talent in the ranks, in our faculty ranks. We should be going after grant money to support not only the research, but to support students that will be doing work under the tutelage of the faculty, okay? I'm a little bit less worried about bringing in the National Science Foundation and Department of Defense grant, and I'm more worried about bringing in valuable resources to fund research that benefit our students. Because students that are involved in research projects benefit certainly monetarily. You can write the students' tuition and room and board on a grant, write that in there. But the data also shows that they do better GPA-wise, better retention of those students that are involved in research projects. Skill development is out of this world, okay? Because research is hard. Research is difficult. You fail at research sometimes. And part of the lesson of research is that you get yourself up, dust your britches off, and get going again, okay? Thirdly, we have to transform our business processes. Sometimes we trip over ourselves internally about a student going to this office and saying, I need your help. We need to go over here. Okay, I need your help. Well, why didn't you go over there? And the student saying, can't the two of you just talk and let me know what I need to do? We can't do this elevate research stuff or student preparedness stuff without having streamline our business processes. And then finally, the fourth item, which I want to sort of wrap up with you all on, is the fourth item is alignment with the community, okay? We cannot be successful without the community. Point fingers up, down in Dallas and Commerce and Sulphur Springs and so forth, without being aligned with the community, okay? The talent and expertise in this room is exactly what the doctor ordered for our students. We're in the process right now of trying to figure out ways that we can have talented, experienced people like yourselves rubbing shoulders, imparting knowledge to our students. Okay? We want that alignment. We want that interaction with you all being part of the university. Okay? But get this, again, this is the economic development guy coming out in me again. I want us to swing the doors open to the university and say, you know what, community, we're open for business. You got companies that need equipment or expertise that you don't have. You can't afford a GC mass spec or whatever that may be. Talk to us, okay? I can remember at my time at Boise State, it hasn't happened here, a company came up to me and said, hey, we have some rocks. We want you to boil them in nitric acid because we want to boil some stuff off the surface and then we collect that and we're going to go analyze it. I said, okay, I'll take it. And this is way back when I started at Boise State. And you would have thought, I think that was a pretty simple request. And it was an act of Congress to get that done. I'm thinking, what? We probably have 2,000 freshmen boiling nitric acid at any time during a chemistry lab around here. Maybe I can slip one of these kids a 20 and they can do that for me and get it done, right? But no, it's risky, resources, how's the liability going to work? And I'm like, oh my God, this is not where we need to be as a university. And there's a little bit of that in Commerce. I want to break that. I want us to be a resource to the community. We're going to be open for business to the community. Okay? There are certain programs we're working on right now. Now, this is going to be a little bit of an abrupt ending, but I want to give you an example of this, how it may fit together, especially alignment with the community and student preparedness. And this is the kind of innovative stuff I think we want to do as an institution. Last fall, just so happens that Seth and Taylor are here, some athletic folks, our athletic department has a Lion Leadership Academy. And really all it is that experts from the university or outside come in and give talks to their students as like a professional enhancement kind of thing. And I was asked to give a talk on networking. How do you develop a network? How do you develop a network? How do I tap into your network? And so it was about an hour lecture. We had a lot of fun. It was breaking up, and I said, we're not done. Next spring, which would have been spring of this year, spring of 19. And so we're gonna do a practical, okay? And so what we did is we took all the students, about 24, took all the students, biology major, accounting major, health science major, and so forth, and went out to the community and said, let's find accountants, biologists, health science people, and so forth. And we had a mix. We said, I want you to mix, just like we do in real life, like we all do, professionally, personally, and so forth. We told the students, this is gonna be a friendly audience, but this is real. You guys are juniors, it was a junior class. You guys are juniors, you're gonna have professionals that might be able to help you out. So get dressed up. My office printed out business cards for them. We had this mixer. There were people interacting, exchanging phone numbers. I said, go in there and say, hey, I'm a biologist. I'm interested in internship opportunities. How would that work? Or I'm going to graduate in a year and a half. I need some leads for job opportunities. Again, my network tapping into your network. And it was simultaneously the greatest and horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. Because some of the kids got it, right? They were kind of on fire. Oh yeah. Exchange of cards, phone numbers. The other kids were sort of like this in the corner. You know, you're like, you go talk to that person, right? I gotta be honest with you, when I was in high school, when I was maybe a freshman or sophomore in college, I probably would have been the guy in the bathroom waiting it out until it was over, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I heard to a person, the students and the community people, that was great. Think about the opportunity that created, the skill building that created. Even if the skill building for a one night is establishing some guts to go up and talk to people, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Those kind of approaches. I got to figure out how we scale that up to the rest of the 6,000 to 8,000 students we have on campus at any moment in time. I don't know how to do that yet. If you have any ideas, I'd like to hear it. Maybe the next step is maybe we just single out a Department of Biology and talk to them about sponsoring something like that. But that's what I'm talking, the skill development in that area, the student preparedness. So a lot of things happening. I appreciate you letting me come out. It was a great meal. Mark and Beth did a great job. I don't know if they're still back there, but thank you for that. And I'll stand for any kind of questions you may have. Yeah.
I have one. I noticed last week in the paper that UT was announcing free tuition for family income under $65,000. How'd they do that?
I'll tell you exactly how they do that. Okay? So before I got here, we were A&M Commerce. I don't know if you ever heard of the Dallas Promise. Okay, Dallas Promise is when high school kids graduate out of Dallas ISD, and then they sign up as part of the promise that the community college system will give them 2 years of free tuition. And then the recipient, there's also partners of four-year institutions that sort of receive those kids from 2 years of under community college. Free tuition also, commit to free tuition, okay? What Texas is doing and what we're doing, we can do that now. A&M Commerce can do that now. Because a lot of kids they're targeting are these Pell eligible kids. They're a little bit lower socioeconomically. They're eligible for federal loans and grants and those kind of things. And you can start stacking grants and scholarship opportunities together and say, okay, David, here's how it's going to be. It's free tuition. We did this a lot of work trying to stack these credentials and scholarships together in order to make you be able to go to school for free. Now their income level, where it's a little bit different, and I think where Texas probably did this strategically, is that magic number of being Pell eligible is about if your family makes less than $50,000 a year, you're Pell eligible. I think in the paper it said 65 or something like that. It helps when you have $10 quintillion in your endowment, right, that we don't have. You can further augment that. We don't have that. But we can do exactly what Texas is doing right now, except maybe at a lower income level. So it's a bit of a PR ploy, but it's a good PR ploy.
You know the feeling, and so do we. That's why Juice takes steps not only to get the lights back on quickly, but to keep them on. We keep the trees trimmed back to avoid outages, long before the storm comes along. We replace poles before they let us down. We upgrade our system to ensure reliability. And all the steps we're taking have led to a nationally recognized award from the American Public Power Association. Juice Electricity. Hometown service, world-class reliability.